But we incarnate with, they say you,
Excuse me, that's my dog.
we incarnate
We
with,
just woke up.
we get off track a little bit, which is fine.
This will happen constantly, folks. Get used to it.
ADD and ADD.
I used to have my loved ones come in and communicate with me that way.
What are you doing? I say so a lot. I noticed that after I started working with the AI to do my
Your transcriptions.
Yeah. So I'm like, wow, I say
and
so. I say a lot too. Yeah.
Yeah, and or so
Yeah.
And so yeah, I say that a lot, and I go back and I'm editing. Nasha is like,
stop doing that.
Stop it.
Yeah.
Later.
So okay. So I'm so glad you can edit.
Me too.
It would be terrible. I also stutter, I find.
Me too.
Yeah, I was like,
That's a thing.
That's a thing. I do that a lot.
Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 2 of Metaphysical Mama and Scarlet. As usual, I am Scarlet, and that is my Metaphysical Mama. We are here today to discuss all things metaphysical, mysterious, spooky, spiritual, and all of the things in between. And I think today's topic is going to be mediumship. So I will hand it over to you, Metaphysical Mama.
Yes. So I'm Metaphysical Mama. I'm a natural born psychic intuitive. I've been a professional since 1994. I do have books on Amazon and things like that. Basically, what we're going to be talking about, the first thing we want to do is set up a common lexicon. So one of the things with this industry is people just say things and nobody knows what they're talking about. Not that the person speaking doesn't know what they're talking about, but there's no common languaging for everyone. So what we're going to do is we're going to set up our metaphysical dictionary today. And of course, as soon as I start talking, the cat comes. She's got to be in between me and the computer. As usual, disclaimer, there are pets involved on both sides of these screens. So if you hear a dog barking or you see a cat, there she is.
Please excuse. Hi, Gabby.
Oh, so precious.
Miss Pretty Eyes.
Yeah. She's an instigator. So the first thing, when we talk about mediumship, for example, now when I first started out, like 4+ decades ago, in the 80s, well, probably in the 70s, because I was in grade school when I started reading people. But when I first got into this field, when we talked about a medium was a person who spoke to the dead, specifically. There were 3 types of mediums. You have mediums who only speak to souls that are ghosts, which means they haven't crossed over yet. You have mediums that could only speak to spirits, which are people who've crossed over. Or you have mediums who could do both. Now, when people talk about mediums, they use it more loosely. So I always have to ask when somebody's like, I'm looking for a medium. Well, what exactly are you looking for? Are you looking to talk to a dead relatives? Or are you looking to see what's around you? Are you just looking for a regular reading and you don't like to say psychic, which, that seems to be a thing? Yeah. What are you looking for? So when I talk about mediumship, I'm talking about talking to dead people, basically. So that's our first is, and I differentiate between a ghost and a spirit. A ghost is a person who is trapped on this plane without their body. So they're just, the soul is kind of hanging out and they're stuck here until somebody releases them or something happens so that they can cross over. Once you're crossed over, then you become a spirit with a small s. And ghosts can only see as far as you can. They're just like you. They don't have any more information except that they could see in between the walls and they could be a fly on the wall. So they can spy on people and hear what's going on and ascertain things. But other than that, it's not like they're connected with the all that is or in heaven or anything like that. They just kind of are around. And then once you're a spirit, that's when you cross over, you're in a different dimension, you become part of the all that is, you can multi-locate and do all kinds of fun stuff. They can see what's coming up, whereas a regular ghost cannot. So, in my the way I speak. So,
In your vernacular.
in my vernacular, yes. What did when you say mediumship, what are you talking about? What are you talking about?
I mean, I have understood mediumship the same way that you have, someone who talks to dead people. Although, before meeting you and taking some classes in the tarot, especially, I did not know that there was a difference between ghosts and spirits. I thought they were one and the same.
Mhm.
And I think most people probably make that same assumption. You know,
Mhm.
a lot of us are from the sixth sense generation, so we just think I see dead people means the same thing. And there's no real differentiation for that in their minds. So that is what I used to think of mediumship, was that it just meant that you both saw dead people and talked to dead people. But I didn't know that there was a difference between a spirit and a ghost.
Yeah, and some people just call everything spirits. Anything that is not physical is spirit. Okay, but I like to be more specific in the way I use my language.
Right.
So the other thing with mediumship is you're still going off of the psychic senses. So different psychic senses are stronger than others. So I generally don't see ghosts. I have a friend who sees them as like full on like apparitions, like they be talking to somebody and they're not actually, nobody else could see them. I'm not going to say they're not actually
Hmm.
there, but nobody else can see them. Whereas I will see flashes of light, like I'll see colors and stuff. I have a friend of mine, her daughter could only see the aura. So that she would see outlines of people, and that's when she knew there was a ghost there. Which that's
Hmm.
wild.
Right.
So everybody picks them up differently. You might have auditory, you might feel them, you might smell them. A lot of times, ghosts and spirits will have certain scents associated with them, especially if it was somebody like your grandmother or certain saints also have different
Yeah.
smells. Like Mother Mary smells like roses.
Hmm.
Gaia will smell like wildflowers, like stuff like that.
Yeah.
And that's a whole nother psychic sense. So all of your psychic senses come off of your regular senses, they're just amplified.
Hmm.
That's the way I explained it anyway.
I've experienced a few of those.
Mhm.
I've seen flashes. When I was a child, I used to be able to physically see them, but that scared the living daylights out of me, so I shut that ability off. I can physically see one of my spirit guides, and you probably know exactly who I'm talking about, but
Yeah.
this is public, so I'm not telling you people that. But I can physically see one of my spirit guides. Um, and right after my grandmother passed away and I was living in her house, I would smell her perfume at certain
Mhm.
times of the day when I went into the bathroom. And it was obviously something that was spiritual, because she had not been in there and she had not been spraying her perfume because she was no longer on this plane. So
Right.
things like that. I have scent memory from
Mhm.
certain family members. So, like for instance, I recently located my grandfather's aftershave, the
Oh.
brand and the bottle. I had seen a creator who had thrifted the bottle of aftershave that my grandfather had had. It
Mhm.
wasn't my grandfather's, but it was the brand. And they had shown it on their Facebook live feed. And
Old
I went,
Spice.
oh, No,
Oh,
Avon.
really? Oh, cool.
Yeah. And it was the pheasant. The
Okay.
pheasant.
Yeah, I remember that one.
Yeah. And I distinctly remembered the patchouli undertone
Mhm.
from my grandfather when he used to put it on. And he used to let me play with the bottle. I was so obsessed with the bottle because like the head would screw off
Yeah.
to, release the, and it had this gold band around it. And I was always like, ooh, popping it on and off and twisting it around and, doing all these poor torturous things to this bird. And um, I saw that bottle and I got, you know how when you have flashbacks of like visceral core memories that you've long forgotten and you get the chills all over your body. I
Yeah.
had that like full on. I was back there in my grandparents' house in 1994 holding this bottle and I was like, "Oh my gosh, I need to find this." And I looked on eBay and I found a bottle of it unopened from
Nice.
1975. It is
Wow.
like so it's over there on my shelf with my grandparents' photos, and I wish I could remember my grandmother's perfume. I remembered grandpa's, but I cannot remember grandma's, and that drives me crazy. But maybe I'll figure it out one day.
My grandmother was Gina Tay, after bath, splash.
Oh,
I don't
my
even know if they make
maternal.
that anymore.
Yeah, I don't know either.
Mm.
Pardon me, folks. I have allergies. I'm so sorry. You may see this on occasion. It's been a rough week, but my maternal grandmother wore Elizabeth Taylor. So white diamonds, easy to remember. My
Yeah.
maternal grandfather wore, I can't remember the name of it. Starts with an A. Crap. Hold on. I have the bottle. Hold on.
No,
I'm
crap
going to
starts with a
remember.
C.
This stuff. Where is it? Amorous.
Okay. Show us the other bottle since you're up.
Ta-da!
How cute. It looks demonic
Yes.
almost with those red eyes, man.
Actually, when I was a kid, I just thought that was so pretty because it's like emerald and ruby and gold.
Yeah.
So I just always loved that.
Very nice. Very nice.
Okay.
So, do you have a favorite scent that brings you back to childhood? Like, is there anything that you smell that you're like, oh, it smells like summer, or anything like
Well,
that?
yes.
You want to hear something that only a city kid is going to say?
What?
The smell of tar reminds me of
Hmm.
summer
Yeah.
because in the summers you'd have the tar truck and they'd be doing everybody's roof. Yeah.
Well, I will tell you what my favorite like natural scent is.
Hmm.
The way the earth smells just after it's rained.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
Yeah.
is my favorite. I also the smell of the forest and the damp earth.
Hmm.
I love that so much. Like you can immerse me in that and I would be the happiest girl on the planet.
Yeah. Back to the subject.
Yeah. Sorry, folks.
When you pick up things intuitively, you can pick them up with any of your five senses. So some people, for a lot of people, you do have that smell, and smell really does bring you back, just like taste does. Now, clairgustance is taste, where all of a sudden you'll taste something. Maybe you'll taste your grandma's warm chocolate chip cookies or some
Banana bread.
signature food that she made. Yes. And
Hmm.
that kind of thing will bring you back to that. And so there's all different kinds of ways that spirits and ghosts communicate with us. Now, ghosts, because they are just humans not in physical form, if they come from a tradition where things were more rigid and they really didn't get to practice any kind of real spirituality or work with their energy or know that you could do those things, they are much more limited. And they're the ones that you're going to find that are like stuck in a house or something like that.
Hmm. I've heard from a lot of psychic creators on Instagram. They often come across ghosts that are like, "Oh, I don't believe in mediums," and they're like, "You're talking to one."
Yeah.
Oh,
Yeah. I've
That's
not come across
complicated.
that, but what I found most with ghosts is why they're stuck. So what makes
Hmm.
somebody be stuck and somebody else not be stuck? Most of the ones that I've come across are either the death was very sudden and tragic, so they don't believe they're dead, like in
Hmm.
Sixth Sense.
Yeah.
They are afraid that they're going to go to hell. That's the biggest. I would say that's number one. They're afraid they're going to go to hell, or they're afraid of what comes after, so they stick here.
Yeah.
They don't go through the portal. They don't. They kind of hide, and
Hmm.
then you're stuck because there's the other side for whatever reason can't create the portal. It's got to be coming from this side.
Hmm.
So you need to find somebody who can create the portal for you, or you need to be around somebody when they die,
Mm.
because then it's there. So I find that very interesting, and
Yeah.
I think most people can sense ghosts. It's when you're somewhere, anger will hold people. Like if they feel like they need to be avenged or something like that, that'll hold people also. And the other thing that holds people is someone who's close to them who refuses to let them go.
Yeah.
So that energy cord kind of gets entangled and they get stuck. First ghost that I professionally removed or crossed over was this older gentleman, and he had a heart attack or something, went to the hospital, died, and then, of course, went back home because they will go back where they feel comfortable unless
Right.
they're stuck in the cycle of being in a specific place. So he goes back home, he watches over his wife. His wife gets older, she gets sick, she goes to the hospital, she dies, she crosses right over because she thinks she's going to go see her husband.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, he's still at the house.
Oh.
And eventually, and I'm not sure how long afterwards this was, but eventually a woman moves in with her two kids, and the one daughter looked a lot like his wife. So he was very excited that his wife was
Oh.
back, and it was terrifying for the poor kid.
Of course.
I mean, she was a young adult. She was, I don't know, probably 18, 17, 18 when things
Oh.
started happening. She went away to college and she's like, "I am not coming home unless you get rid of that guy." Like, ain't happening. So that's when I got called. And at the time, I had a partner who we would do these things together. And it was kind of funny. Like, he really wanted to take her with him. Like, he really was attached to this girl.
No.
So much so that when we did a circle and I had her next to me, and as because we kind of had to force him up because he was like, "No, it's okay. I can stay here." We're like, "No, no, you can't." So
Yeah.
we're pulling him up and he grabbed her and she literally was like coming off the floor, like holding on.
Oh
I'm
my
like, "Put her down right now." And that's
God.
where the
Yeah.
mama comes from. From when I was
Hmm.
born, I think I was always a mama. Like, don't you dare touch my baby. Don't you dare.
Yeah.
So he put her down. Then he went where he needed to go. And usually after they cross over, they will come back and be like, "Thank you.
Hmm.
I didn't realize what I was missing." But they don't have any sense of time like we do.
Right. Yeah.
And so then it makes it difficult. The very first possession and ghost that I dealt with, we asked her, like, "Well, how long have you been here?" And she was like, "I think it's been like 10 years." And it was 60
Oh my gosh.
when we went back and looked her up and everything. It was like, wow. So time definitely is very different. I mean, think about it. If you don't have to sleep, you don't have to eat, you don't have to go to the bathroom, and you stay in one place.
Yeah.
So why do you think a ghost might stay in a specific area?
Well, for the reasons that you mentioned, wanting to keep an eye on their loved ones, being afraid of crossing over, not knowing what's on the other side. And I think a lot of the time, too, it's not just that they don't know that they're dead, but also they are confused. They're not really sure why nobody is aware that they're there. And a lot of the time, they just don't want to go, you know?
Well,
And
I mean, and it's like waking up and suddenly the entire world is shunning you.
yeah,
I
yeah.
I couldn't even imagine. And there's been so many times I've had to explain this to people who are like, "Well, if the ghost is here, he's meant to be here." No,
No,
no, no.
it doesn't work that way.
Let me tell you about their experience, what they have to go through
Mhm.
here. And ghosts will stay like in a room or a house, not because they're stuck there. They're fine walking out that door. Because
Right.
a lot of clearings that people do, all it does is makes them homeless. It just shoves them out the door. That's all they do. But what keeps a ghost in that space, if you think about it, because they have no sense of time, and to stay in that sense of denial, if you're in a room, the room doesn't change a whole lot over time.
Right.
Paint might change,
Right.
might get new furniture, but it's not like all these major changes. If you think about outside, maybe it was a farmhouse when they passed, and now they're in the middle of a city.
Mhm.
So keeping their space small makes them feel more secure, just like an agoraphobic.
Yeah. And also there's a familiarity to that,
Mhm.
if the room doesn't change all that much. And also, if the people who were living in the house when they died were not very spiritual and the people who came back in were not very spiritual, the energy in that room is staying the same for the most part, you know. It might
Possibly, yeah.
adjust a little bit,
Yeah.
but that energy is still an energetic that's holding them there because it's a familiar energetic, and that's, we're all energy. That's kind of how
Well,
that works.
I don't know if I would couch it as holding them there because it
Right.
is a
No.
choice on their part
Right, exactly. But it's a
that they're
familiar
attracted
feeling.
to. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it's comforting to them. And
Yeah. It's like
if
being
that's the
complacent.
only yes, and if that's the only level of comfort that you have in your existence, then of course you're going to stay there. It
Yeah.
just makes sense.
Yes, absolutely. I have so many ghost stories. But and I think I believe that just about everywhere is kind of haunted
Oh yeah,
because
definitely.
there's this whole other world that is just a breath away from ours, but it's a different frequency. So most
Yeah.
people can't tap into it. And I psychic ability I say is like a radio. You have all these
Yeah,
different
you're always
channels.
tuning in and out.
Yeah. And there's some people who are only AM. There's some people who are only FM. There's some people who are AM, FM, and stereo and Sirius,
Yeah,
radio.
satellite.
Satellite, yeah, so it's different for everyone, and that's why I don't believe in anybody who says this is the only way or this is exactly the way it is. They're either fooling themselves or they're fooling you because I've watched in my 50 plus years of life, I've watched things change energetically as
Oh
well as
yeah.
physically, and everybody has their own experience, which doesn't mean some experiences aren't just out and out fake, but it does
Exactly.
mean that we might experience something differently. I gotta tell
Yeah.
you a funny story. For whatever reason, this
Please
keeps
do.
popping in my head. So my friend Psychic Jen in Hawaii, when I was right before I left Hawaii, we're in Kailua on Wana'au Road, and we're talking before she gets in the car, and we're kind of like in the street, like there was like parking, and we're both standing there talking, and then all of a sudden, both of us go, "Whoa!" Because this this entity popped up and was like, "Boo!" and then just left
Oh my god.
because they think that is so funny. And both of us reacted at the same time, and it was like, I could just imagine if this is being recorded or if somebody's watching us, they think we're both crazy. Because nobody like, everybody's like, what are you jumping for? There's nothing there. What are you talking about?"
Ah,
So funny. So
yeah.
funny.
Oh man.
You know what show I think depicts it really well is that show Ghosts,
Oh
which
yeah,
is
yeah. The British one.
yeah, it's
Yeah.
so funny where they move into the old house and they wanna
Yeah.
make it
And it's
into a B and
extremely
b.
haunted.
It's very,
Yeah.
very haunted. Yeah, there's all kind of ghosts there. That I really like because I really like the way that they depict the different personalities of the ghosts, the different way that the girl has to deal with things, where her husband has to deal with things because he can't see them,
Yeah.
and the way they come and go. There are different ones
Mhm.
that come and go. So that's always, I love that show. It's so funny, but it's interesting. There's
Yeah.
a lot out now that is
Paranormal related.
more truthful and paranormal related.
Yeah, I've noticed that as
Yeah.
well.
So The Sixth Sense, definitely, he's bang on. That was
Yeah.
absolutely 100%
Yes.
correct, the way he presented it. I
That
ruined the
movie
movie for
permanent
everybody.
that movie permanently restructured my brain in so many different ways, and I'm kind of grateful for it because in a way, like, yes, that was hard for me to watch because that movie was gruesome in some places.
Oh, yeah.
But and let me tell you, I never watched a horror movie again after that.
And
I
I
was
wouldn't
like,
even
nope,
call that a horror movie.
no. But like the blood and guts in some places was like I think I was 10 when I
Oh,
saw it.
no.
It
No.
was too much for me.
Yeah.
Um Hence why I say it restructured my brain chemistry because, like, from
Yeah.
that point on, I was like, me plus blood and guts equals heck no. But I'm kind of grateful for that movie because it also, in a way, made me less afraid of ghosts.
Mhm.
And it also, for a short while after that movie, I don't really know what happened, but I kind of feel like it kind of turned something on that I had previously had off
Mhm.
because I started seeing some spirits coming through our house after that point.
Oh, cool.
And it wasn't so cool though because a lot of them looked like the way that they did in the movie, and I was like, I don't want to see this. Bonk, and I shut it off again.
Well, and you know
But
what's another movie that's funny that is, kind of relatable? It was Beetlejuice. Like, the original Beetlejuice, when they did things to
yes,
scare the people
uh
as
huh,
opposed to looking normal. So, I generally, when I do see them, sometimes they'll show me, like, their death,
yeah,
but a lot of time I'm like, "I don't wanna see that, and if you're gonna
yeah,
be all icky, I'm not gonna look at you. We're not
yeah.
talking. That's it."
I don't want to know. I don't want to know how you unalived. Let's change
So,
the
and it's
subject.
fine. I mean, I don't mind if you tell me, you can tell me,
Yeah, just don't show me.
or even show me a quick scene of it, but don't walk around with your head blown off. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Like,
please stop that.
it's simple respect.
Yeah,
So, a lot of times you can tell them, I'm not willing to look at you that way.
yeah,
If you're gonna show up, you need to have respect. I'm not No, I'm not into the
yeah,
horror trope.
yeah.
Um, yeah, so that I found in Beetlejuice was even very similar, and the whole thing saying the name 3 times, like, that's a whole magical thing.
Yeah,
So,
and
and
that's
you
why they tell you don't call a spirit by its name because that has power and you don't know what you're going to wake up.
yes, yes, and then in order to put him back down, you have to say the name backwards 3 times.
Oh God,
Could you imagine trying to pronounce that?
I don't
Like,
think anybody could.
"Oh, no." Yeah. Another question we get is, can you learn to be a psychic, or can you learn to be a medium and things like that? What are your thoughts on that?
I'm not sure, honestly, because in my experience, I was born with my ability, and you were born with your ability. So I would say no, but I don't
Here
know.
here's my theory. Everyone is born with abilities. It's how hard you get shut down as a kid that dictates, and we have different abilities. It's just like being athletic. Most kids
Right.
can throw a ball.
Hmm.
How hard, how high, how far, those change. Those are different. But
Yeah.
everybody can throw a ball. And I feel like intuition is the same way, where we all have innate ability. It's a matter of finding it and strengthening it, nurturing it.
So what they say in
Or,
Doctor Who about everyone being a little bit psychic is true.
oh, yes, absolutely. Yeah. I love Doctor Who.
Me
Um,
too.
if you don't train your child not to trust themselves, they can use their intuitive senses to really stay out of trouble and really become successful. But most of us don't do that. Most people, because they can't see it or they're afraid of it, it's not there. There's no
Yeah.
such thing as monsters. And I've fought with people who know me, and they'll still tell their kid, "Oh, there's no such thing as ghosts." How dare you? You know you're lying at this point. I mean,
Right.
out there. There's enough evidence out there.
Right. And it's backed by science too. You can't just
What are,
say that blanket and be like,
what are
"Oh,
you
this is the
talking
way
about
it
at this
is."
point? You might as well tell your kid,
Right.
I'm afraid, so I don't want
Yeah.
you to see anything."
Exactly.
No. We have
It's
to
it's very it's very true. And I'm sorry, I don't mean
go
to
ahead.
interrupt you, but um, I grew up being taught to smush
Yeah.
all of that stuff down. And I was always taught that psychics were hucksters and that they were all liars and that they didn't know what they were talking about, or the ones that did know what they were talking about were demonically possessed and that we should never go near them. Yeah. And then I started having premonitions very early on in life. I started dreaming about stuff and the stuff was happening.
Mhm.
And I talked to my dad about it and I was like, I don't understand what's going on. I thought that this wasn't real. And he goes, "Oh, it's not real. It's just your imagination." And I was like, but if it's just my imagination, how come these things are happening years later down the road? And that was kind of like the first waking up point for me where I was like, I'm psychic. And I didn't know how to deal with it because when you're raised fundamentalist and everybody tells you that spirituality is demonic, you don't know what to do with it. And I was so scared for such a long time. And it wasn't until I started reading tarot after I left the church, after I left Christianity, and started finding my own safe space spiritually and learning about these things that finally all of these answers started coming to me. And I was like, no, I was born with this. There's nothing demonic about it. It's just human. This is who we are. This is what we originate as. And I didn't understand it because it was squashed down for so long. And now I'm becoming stronger and things are aligning and, stuff makes sense now. And it was like for half of my life, nothing made sense for such a long time. And I was so confused. And I was like, why is all this stuff happening?
Yeah.
Because I wasn't listening to my intuition.
I think that kids are more and more open now. Like it's
Yes.
becoming we're coming to a point where it's like almost hitting you over the head where you can't ignore it.
Yeah. I feel like it's gotten more, like the veil is much thinner now than it used to be,
Yeah.
like way thinner, to the point that it's like the worlds are colliding in a lot of ways.
Yeah. That's a good way to describe it too. So a medium can look through the veil, peek
Yes.
peek through it. Whereas like a ghost is already still in the same frequency that we are, but they're not physical anymore.
Right.
And that's got to be the most frustrating thing. I could not, well, I can imagine because I remember, we'll talk about past lives in a different podcast, but I have memory, a very visceral memory of being a ghost.
Yeah.
And I took care of myself because I could not live because something had happened to my daughter. And I had another child who was only like 4 at the time. And I remember doing that to myself and then existing afterwards. And the realization that, oh, wait a second, nobody can see me except for my kid.
Yeah.
What is happening? So my poor child, I was with them like through their whole lifetime, that lifetime, and she's the one who pulled me through the portal.
Mm,
So strange things can happen. I
yeah.
remember seeing other ghosts. And that's a question too, is do ghosts see other ghosts or can they see spirits? If they're on the same frequency, they can.
Right.
If you remember in the movie with, was it Patrick Swayze, Ghost, and Demi
Ghost.
Moore?
Yeah. Oh God, I haven't seen that movie in so long.
Yeah, in that one, he could see the other ghosts, like, tried to help him be able to move things and affect things, because that is something that you don't know how to do right off the bat unless you've been practicing when you're in physical body, in physical form. I feel like once people become more spiritual, and in places where they are more spiritual, if they happen to become a ghost and they have a better grip on or a better understanding of how to communicate with the living. So I think places like Japan, where spirituality is like interwoven in their whole culture,
Yes.
that's why they have a better understanding of the spirit world and ghosts and things like that. So I say so much. I'm not going to think about it. I think maybe because I'm thinking about it, it's worse.
Yeah. Yes. Yes. Don't worry about it. It's not that deep.
Anybody who's watching, if you want to play a drinking game,
You'll be socked by the time this is over.
or put a nickel in the jar every time, you'll be rich
There
by the
you
time it's
go.
over.
There you go.
Exactly. Exactly. Have you experienced when you pick up on things, are you seeing it? Is it in your head? Are you hearing it? Are you feeling it, tasting it, smelling it?
It depends.
Mhm.
I will see like shapes out of the corner of my eye. I've not seen anything directly in front of my eyes. I do see things in my third eye. So, like, if there's just a spirit passing through and it wants to let me know that it's there or whatever, I will see like a flash in the side of my vision, my periphery, and then it will come into my third eye and they'll just be like, "Hi, strolling through. See you later." You know. And it's like, okay, that was a thing, you know. And I don't see that very often,
Mhm.
thankfully. Because the last time that happened, it startled me quite badly, and I was like, "Okay, can you warn me next time, please?"
They're like, "No, we're ghosts. We're supposed to be
Rude.
scary."
Yeah.
I always feel bad for my boyfriends
Hmm.
because of what they have to deal with being with me.
Yeah.
When I was in Hawaii and I was living with my partner while I was there, we were together for 6.5 years, and when we first got together, like, he wasn't very spiritual, but one of the things that happened when we moved into our apartment is there was a female spirit there, or ghost, I should say, a female entity, and he's in bed because he worked, like, really weird shifts, so I would be at work and he'd be sleeping, and he's like, all of a sudden, like, somebody's doing like this with the sheets at the bottom of the bed, like, doing like this to him, and he looks and he can't see anybody, and he's like, "Stop, I need to go to work. I need to sleep. Leave me alone." And then it just stopped. And it's like, these are just some of the things you need to deal with when you're with
Yeah.
somebody who, does this stuff,
Yeah.
attracts it.
Get used to it.
Yes, but this female entity, and I don't even know if I wanna call her a ghost because it didn't feel like a ghost, it felt a little bit different. She might have been like a water nymph or something like that, but
Hmm.
she loved him. She was just all about him, and, you know, all kinds of stuff was happening with him from
Oh
her.
my.
And we had a shapeshifter one time.
Ooh,
We had
that's
our
really a thing.
Oh, yeah. We had our air conditioner was not a window unit, it just had the hose going out the window, so it was standing
Uh-huh.
there. And Hawaii is very humid, not as humid as Philly, but it's 60% humidity, and there are times when it gets really humid. So my boyfriend liked having the air conditioner, I could take it or leave it when I lived there. But the water would build up so quickly that whatever the container was, that it would fill with water, like, every half hour, you'd have to change it. So he set it up so that it went into like a gallon jug so that it could last longer. And if we did not, usually you had to get up like in the middle of the night and empty it. Or what we like to do was just at the beginning of the night, you turn it on, you make it ice cold in the room. And then by the time you wake up in the morning, the room's temperate and the thing had only been on for like 2 hours so that you didn't overflow the jug.
Right.
And several days in a row, we're waking up, water is all over the floor, and the air conditioner is still on in the morning.
Oh boy.
So I say something to him. I'm like, yo, you need to empty it if you're going to put the air conditioner back on after it goes off. And he's like, I'm not doing that. And I said, well, I'm not doing it. I didn't even want the air conditioner in our bedroom.
Mm-hmm.
He's like, I saw you. I'm like, I saw you. So we're like, okay, we're going to watch for it this time.
Mm-hmm.
And we're sleeping. And all of a sudden I feel it pop in. I mean, it was very helpful, kept us cool at night, but it was like, dude,
Right.
I don't want water all over my floor.
Right.
It popped in and it walked. It was at the end of the bed, about to do the air conditioner. And I hit him. I'm like, get up. What do you see? And he's like, it's you. I said, it's not me. I'm right here. I just woke you up. So I was like, oh God, I can't believe this shit is real. I'm like, welcome to my world.
Yeah.
So I
Yeah.
said, hey, thanks for doing that. It makes the room nice and comfy, but it spills water everywhere. Please don't do that again.
Mm-hmm.
And it just looked at me and went, and was gone. And we did not have a problem with it again. I always feel like
Oh.
talking to whatever it is and letting it know things or asking questions. I don't know if you saw the movie Gothica with
No,
Halle
I didn't.
Berry. My favorite movies of all time. So awesome. And this is something my boyfriend used to make fun of me for too, is he would be like, watching a movie, a horror movie with you is unlike anybody else. Because
Because
like
you can poke holes in it.
you're watching it and it's like, ask her what she wants. Why are you getting underneath the bed? She can see you anyway. Just ask her what she
Right.
wants. Ask her what's going on. Find out this. Find out that. Why are you doing this? Like I just get so frustrated with it. I'm like, don't run away. Like
Right.
it could go through walls. What are you running? Where are you going? And stuff like that. And with my kid, we would watch movies. Like we watched Devil, which was they're in the elevator
Mm-hmm.
and somebody in the elevator is the devil.
Uh-huh.
And like you kind
Haven't
of
seen
are
that one.
trying to figure it out. Oh, it would horrify you.
Oh, of course it would.
But my kid and I, we go to the movie theaters to see it. And we're sitting there and I use these like instructional videos. Okay, what did they do wrong? What was the first clue? What do you see here? What's happening here? How do you react to this? So we're going through this. And when the movie was over, nobody came near us. Everybody's like, you know, what is wrong with you people? What are you talking about? I was like, well, now
That is
all you know if you're
hilarious.
in that situation,
Yep, exactly.
what to do. You're not going to get bit. Nothing's going to happen to you because you know what to do now.
Right.
Yeah. So
My future, whoever it is going to be, they're never going to be bored.
exactly. Yeah. Life is always thrilling.
Yeah. Just so you know, if you're out there and you're watching us, perchance, it's going to be interesting.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry.
Yeah, I've had several guys who I've gone out with. I'm very open about who I am. I'm very open about what I do. I am all over the internet. Like
Yeah.
I couldn't hide it if I wanted to, but I wouldn't want to because this is who I am. And that's the way I look
Yeah.
at it is this is what I do for a living. This is what I am. Like it or lump it.
Yeah.
I can't change it. This is my
Mhm.
calling. And I've had guys who shortly after starting to date, like things will start to happen. They'll be, I'm going to say goodbye now.
Yeah.
I'm really, really don't want to do this.
Yeah.
So
I know my poor future, whoever it is definitely going to have to deal with consistent visits from my spirit guides. Like, you
Yeah,
guys talk all the time. It's driving me crazy. He's been there since I was a kid. What's wrong?
exactly. I mean, they're
Yeah,
around you all the time.
yeah. They're family at this point. Like, come on.
Exactly. My other psychic friends call my people my entourage. They're like, "You have this entourage." I'm like, "Okay, all
I
right."
like that. I sort of feel like I have one, but I don't know how many there are. I just know that there's a lot, apparently.
And you don't need to know.
Yeah,
We will do a whole episode on this because spirit guides are huge. There's so
yeah.
many different types, and they come in and out. You don't always have the same people or entities or things.
That's true.
It
Yeah,
changes
mine
over
have changed
time.
constantly. Yeah,
It's what you need at that time
yeah,
is what you end up with. Back to mediumship.
yeah.
We get off track a little bit, which is fine.
This will happen constantly, folks. Get used to it.
ADD and ADD.
Yes.
A lot of people ask when they're going into a reading, a mediumship specific reading, which is you're talking to the dead.
Mhm.
They'll ask, "What do I ask?" And the way I look at it, I don't consider myself a medium per se. I do mediumship when I'm called upon to do so. I won't go into it as this is a mediumship reading. I don't do anything special. They come to me. The way I look at it is once you're crossed over, you're like, you're in heaven. It's a party. It's
Mhm.
awesome. You're having the very best time of your entire life. And then somebody's going to come in with a cold water hose and spray you down and be like, Are you okay?" What?
Of course, I'm okay.
No,
What do you want?
I'm not doing that. I am not
Yeah.
doing that. Just like I'm not going to walk into your birthday party and interrupt everything to ask you an inane question. Some people have real questions. And when they have important things that they want to ask or important things that they need to know, the spirit will generally come into the reading.
Right.
They'll just come in. They'll be there of their own accord without me going and looking for them. One of the funniest readings I ever did where that happened was I was working for a chiropractor and I was replacing this other girl. She was leaving the front desk and I was going to come in, and I know she did not like me. But for whatever
Mm.
reason, she asked me to read her. So I'm like, sure. Good way to get to know each other, you know. So I'm doing the reading and I just get stopped dead. I'm not getting any information. All I'm hearing is a man's voice call her piggy nose. I'm not calling her piggy nose. She will punch me in the face. I am not calling her piggy nose. And it was incessant. Call her piggy nose, call her piggy nose, call her piggy nose. And she was a really pretty girl and she had a little upturned nose, you know. And
Mhm.
I'm like, okay, please don't hit me. And I mean, no offense, but there's a guy over here who keeps telling me to call you piggy nose and he's not giving me any other information. That's all he's saying is to call you piggy nose. And she burst into tears. I'm like, oh my God, what did I do? And here it was her father. He had died a couple years previous. And that was his pet name for her from when she was a baby because she had the little upturned nose, my little piggy nose. So when you're doing a reading, when you get weird stuff like that, you can't, it's not up to us to filter it and figure it out. It's up to us just to give the information.
Yeah, just transpose it,
Yeah, and that really
transfer it.
taught me that because I'm thinking you're just being mean. What kind of a person are you that you're calling this person names? And it actually she felt so good because she knew it was her father and she was so connected to him and she missed him so much and she was really wanting to connect with him, and that's how he came through. It's terrifying sometimes being a, a psychic or a medium or whatever you want to call yourself because you get information you have no idea what that information means to the other person,
Exactly. Yeah, you don't know if it's going to be offensive or
and you need
uh,
not to filter it. I've
yeah.
gotten, and as you go along, this will probably happen to you at some point. but I'll get other languages and I have to repeat it or I write it down. Like a lot of times I'll see the words and I'll write it down and I'll like, I have no idea what this means, but this is what you got, and they'll understand it. I think I've gotten German, I've gotten Spanish. One was a language that we weren't quite sure what it was, and I don't know whether it was might have been like Portuguese. It was not a real expansive popular language. It was more very colloquial to that area or
Uh-huh.
whatever. And that was hard because I'm like, I got that in a dream, and I'm like, who am I supposed to give this to? Like, what is this? What
Yeah.
does it say? And we finally figured it out, but it can be really confusing sometimes. It can be very difficult.
I have a question in regards
Yes.
to that.
Mhm.
When I was 16 years old, went on a missions trip with my family to India, and we were there for a month. And I got to the point where I started dreaming in Hindi, and I don't speak Hindi.
Cool. In
And
the dream, did you
so
understand it?
I don't remember that,
Okay.
but I do remember all of my dreams being in Hindi. And I kept waking up and telling my parents, I keep dreaming in Hindi. Like, what's going on? I don't understand. And they were like, oh, that's neat. And I'm just like, yeah, it's neat, but what does it mean?
That is
So
wild. That
that
means
was that was
that you probably were from that area of India and your people were trying to talk to you.
that explains why I like Bollywood so much. That's my
It's the
go-to
music.
music when I'm down.
Oh,
Yes.
absolutely. Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. Another thing people will ask is whether animals can come through.
Yeah.
And I know there are many religions that believe that God only puts souls in us and not in anything
Hmm.
else. I have not found that to be true at all,
Yeah.
and I don't care who wants to fight me about it, but
Exactly. You
animals
can't
have
live
souls.
without a soul. If you don't have a soul, you're not alive.
That's what animates you. Now,
Exactly.
there are people who they say they're soulless, and that is a whole nother discussion
Yeah.
where they're animated by something else. So we're not going to go into that because that's too
Mm,
deep. We'll
yeah.
go into that some other time. And if you guys want to delve into any of these things, let us know. Put it in the comments below. Make sure that you like and subscribe so
Yes.
that we can get out there. Introduce us to your family. You
Yes.
know.
You have a lovely wife. They're both very pretty.
Uh, They'll ask. I do believe that animals come back and forth. They don't have the same thing as us. I don't believe an animal can be a ghost
No.
because they're not as, how you say, self-centered as we are, egotistical.
Mm.
I don't even know what, but they're not afraid. So they just kind of go with it.
But animals
Cats,
could be spirits, perhaps?
yes, yes, absolutely. Cats go back and forth. If you
Yeah.
have ever had a cat, you know that they are multidimensional, even when they're here, let
Hmm.
alone once they pass.
I heard
Um,
someone say once that cats are basically hedge witches in animal form.
that's a possibility. I don't know.
For those who don't know, a hedge witch is someone that borders between the the beyond and our current world. People who
Yes,
can communicate on either side effortlessly.
you walk in two worlds.
Yes. Hence why they're called hedge witches.
Um, they'll ask, "What question should I ask?" So you can ask for advice. You can ask for forgiveness. You can give forgiveness. You can, whatever it is that you need to do to gain closure is probably what you're going for. Now, I know people who see mediums weekly and they're talking to the same person all the time and asking the same questions all the time. Now, I don't know about you, but I, as a person, would find that really annoying,
Yes.
especially like if I'm cross, like, why do you keep bothering me? I answered
Yeah.
that already. One of the things that I noticed with spirit with capital S, is that when people they keep poking and asking you the same question. They might use different words, but they're basically asking the same question over and over and over again. That spirit will then start answering in a very persnickety way.
Spirit
Like,
is spicy.
it'll start getting really funny. And people are like, what? They said that? Yes, you asked this 4 times. You were answered 3 times the same answer. If you want the answer to change, they're going to give you some really interesting answers.
Yeah.
But
I learned that the hard way.
Yeah, it's not my job to tell you what you want to hear. It's my job to tell you the truth.
Yeah.
Whatever that might be.
Yeah. When I first started reading and I first started learning how to tap in, there were a few times where I sort of felt like I wasn't getting the answer, but Spirit was like, no, I told you this already. Like, and then the cards started getting really snarky, and I was like, ooh, okay, you spicy tonight. I'm sorry. I just didn't understand, okay?
Yeah.
And now I know if my cards start getting sarcastic, I've asked the same question too many times.
Yes, they do not like that. Do not.
No.
And just like a person, I mean, it's disrespectful.
Yeah.
It's disrespectful. When you're working with a medium, one of the other things that some people try to do is they try to trip them up. So I watched this expose on mediums. It was years ago.
Oh, God.
And it really pissed me off because basically what they would do is they would go in and they would have a picture of a young girl who now was an adult and was part of the TV crew. But they would show this picture and be like, this is my sister and she died when I was 15 or something. Can you contact her? So out of all the people they questioned, it was like 37% told them no.
Mm-hmm.
But they only looked at the other ones who tried to help and said, well, they were lying. Well, maybe they were picking up somebody else and it wasn't her,
Mm-hmm.
or maybe they were lying just to try and get you to feel better or whatever.
Yeah. Give you what you want.
Yeah. And then you have people who are like, no matter how many details you give, or no matter what you say, or what the feeling is, or they might start smelling the person, like the whole 9 yards. They're gonna dismiss it as something. Like there's that guy who's the skeptic who supposedly, debunks everything. He doesn't debunk shit because he doesn't look at anything really.
Right.
Like if you're going to be skeptical, I love talking to people who are skeptical and having discussions and thinking about things and really going into things. But people who are just like, no matter what you say, no matter what you do, I don't believe you and this is wrong.
Yeah.
I'm not going to waste my time with somebody like that because they're not worth my time or my energy. My time and my energy is meant to help people get through hardship and to help people see what's on the other side of their path.
Exactly.
Whenever you go to any kind of a reading, it's always best to write down any of your thoughts. Even while you're getting the reading, it's good to, if you can record it because you're going to miss stuff. But write down any questions that come to mind so you don't forget to ask it. Because there's nothing worse in doing this than having somebody call you 2 weeks later and be like, "What did you say about X and Y?"
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, you're the only person I've ever read, and, like, I remember any of these readings after I do it, because
Right.
you're just flowing, nothing's going into memory. I don't
Or like
remember
me, where I sit there after a reading and you ask me, do I have a question? And I'll go, I thought about it 20 minutes ago and now I don't know.
Yeah, you wanna write it down. Dreams about loved ones. People want you to interpret it. They are based on what your relationship is with the loved one, so it could be something that seems odd or off, but if you really think about it and you look at the symbolism in it, you could see what they're telling you.
Mm-hmm.
What was your question?
Well, I didn't have a question. I was thinking about, because we had a conversation about this recently.
Did you want to comment on that?
It's an interesting topic to explore. Well, I have always had dreams about people that I've connected with in some way, even if I never knew them in life. I've connected with a lot of people who are well known long after they have passed on. because these people meant something to me when I was a child or whatnot. And they will give me messages
Mhm.
and talk to me about things or, give me comfort for whatever reason. And a lot of the time, particularly it's somebody that, I never knew, or if it's someone that I've never dreamed of before, I'll wake up and I'll go, what the heck was that? And then I'll scramble and I'll write you and be like, what does this mean?
Yeah. Dreams are very, very personal things, and I know that there
Yeah.
are dream books, this means this means that. Like, I was taught if you dream about your teeth falling out, there's gonna be a death, like, different things like that are symbolic. However, you really need to look at your dreams through your own lens,
Right.
and what does that mean to you?
Yeah.
So and we could
That
do
said,
a
you
whole
can
thing on
also,
dreams.
yes, and we probably will. And that said, you can also have dreams about people that haven't passed on that can have spiritual meanings because you're connected to that person some way. It happens to me all the time.
Right. Well, and, uh, we're gonna get off the dream subject because there's so much we could go into.
Yes, yes. We'll save it for another podcast.
But it is possible to connect with people in the dream time that are alive at the same time as you are.
Yes.
You can ask a medium. Okay, let me refocus. When we're talking about mediums, I'm talking about people who speak to dead people. A lot of people look at mediums in a broader sense and say medium instead of a psychic. They'll ask about past lives, they'll ask about guardians and guides. And your loved ones who have passed and your ancestors could absolutely become a guardian or a guide.
Yes.
Whenever you're going in for a reading with someone, clarify what you mean by whatever the words are. And if you're a reader, clarify what you mean by whatever the words are. One of the biggies is, oh, it's my soulmate. It's my soulmate. Do you have any idea what a soulmate is? What would
I
you
don't
think a
think
soulmate is?
anyone does.
No, no. Give me an answer.
Somebody that you're meant to be with in life.
Okay, that's what most people think. That's the
Right.
common terminology. A soulmate is someone you've incarnated with before that you have something to do.
Mm,
They are not your forever person necessarily. They might be,
right.
but we incarnate with, they say you,
Excuse me, that's my dog.
we incarnate
We just woke up.
with our soul family, a group of people that we go through lifetimes with. For instance, my child and I have tumbled through time with taking turns being the parent
Yeah.
or being a sibling and things like that. I was my mom's sibling a couple times ago. So you can do that, and that is a soulmate.
Yeah.
It's not always a positive interaction.
No,
It's not always,
definitely not.
yeah, it's not always a forever. It's wrapping up karma, it's teaching lessons and things like
Mhm.
that. And then people talk about your twin flame, which is your
Yes, I've heard
soul
of
ripped
those
in
too.
half.
Right.
And some people think it's masculine, feminine. Some people think it's always, oh, if you meet your twin flame, you're supposed to be married and that kind of thing. Not necessarily. Twin
Yeah.
flame basically is your higher self and your self here.
Hmm.
And your higher self helps to guide you because they're looking at things from a different perspective and they're at a different frequency. You very seldom incarnate at the same time
Right.
because that can create issues.
Yeah.
Things like that. When you're talking to somebody and getting a reading, ask the questions and ask them to define what do you mean by that?
Hmm.
Oh, this is a karmic relationship. What does that mean to you? The person who's reading you should be able to give you those definitions and should be able to give you an idea of what they're thinking and how they look at
Right.
things. When we talk about communicating with your deceased loved ones, basically the easiest way to do that is in the dream time. And then people say, well, I can't remember my dreams. Well, there's a way to train yourself to do that.
Yeah.
Meeting in the astral is so much easier than them trying to talk to you here, because
Yes.
your conscious mind is in the way, always trying to negate everything that's going on, because like, no, that can't happen. This person's dead, and it's telling you these things.
Hmm.
So it's a lot easier on the astral because you're in spirit, they're in spirit, and it's easier to communicate that way.
Yeah.
Generally, loved ones will come through dreams first and foremost.
Yes. And that's where I've had my earliest interactions long before I ever knew what any of this was. I used to have my loved ones come in and communicate with me that way.
What are you doing,
Me.
Gabby? What are you doing? What was
Oh,
that about?
you say I'm investigating.
Are you investigating things? What's going on? Is that making a noise or something? Huh? I feel so protected,
Yes.
so loved. Do we have any other questions we want to go through about mediumship?
Yes.
Okay.
Does deja vu fall into that category?
I don't think so.
Okay.
Deja vu, I feel, comes in different flavors.
Much like most of life.
Yes. Some deja vu is from past life experiences. Like all of a sudden, wow, I've been here before. Some deja vu comes from you actually dreamt it and you're remembering, I remember I dreamt this, and then you could go through the whole thing.
Yes.
Deja vu could be a connection with a place, which again could be past life. It could be through someone else. For instance, if you have an ancestor or grandparent who lived somewhere and this was where they always were, when you go to that place, it may feel familiar to you because their
Hmm.
energy still exists there, or
Yeah.
part of their energy is in you. It's also cellular memory is part of that. So our lineage goes back, and every iteration, there's information in our cells that comes from, I think what they found was like the last 7 generations specifically, and we may react to things based on an incident that happened 7 generations ago.
Interesting.
Oh, another way that you could connect with a deceased loved one, there are classes on mediumship, and I feel like mediumship in that, talking to dead people is actually very common. It's an
Hmm.
easier, that and sheer intuition, they're the 2 easiest ones to switch back on.
Yeah.
The other way would be through meditation, and you can meditate on an object that was theirs, on their picture, that kind of thing. When I was giving birth, I had a picture of my grandmother, my maternal grandmother, in the room with me, and I focused on her and did a meditation to help my child come through,
Hmm.
and that was pretty awesome.
That's cool. I have one more question
Okay.
in regards to meditation.
Mhm,
I've not meditated very often
mhm,
because it's hard for me to get into the space where I can just focus on things because
mhm,
ADHD.
mhm,
But when I have meditated, I have found that when I sit there long enough with my
mhm.
eyes closed and I get to, like I've been doing it for 20 minutes or something, I start to feel as though I am flying off the ground and like my head is spinning in circles and my body is following, like somebody spun me around like a piece of string or something and I'm unwinding.
Yeah,
And that is like the weirdest sensation. And when I get to that point, I'm always like, okay, time to open our eyes. I'm getting sick. Because it's very nauseating. And I don't know why that happens, if it's just me or if that's
that's
a thing.
when you're starting to astrally project. That's when your soul, your consciousness is starting to go, "Okay, let's go someplace. Let's visit somebody." That's what that is. Yes.
Oh, interesting. So what happens if I stay there and I just let the feeling take over? What then?
Then you go someplace and you can see where it takes you, or you can specifically target something and say, like, "This is what I wanna see," or, "This is where I wanna go." Maybe you'll go back to India and talk to your Indian relatives and stuff like that.
Interesting.
Yeah, there's all kinds of things you could do. I would suggest in doing that type of work, you usually should have someone who's holding the space for you
Yeah.
because when you're out of your body and your cord need to be protected.
Yeah. So that was my other question. Like, how do I come back out of that?
So you ask for your primary guardian or guide to be there with you,
Okay.
and you have them with you, and they'll take you back in. Now, if you don't come back into your body, some people get lost. It happens.
Mm-hmm.
Um, then you call somebody like me, and I
Yeah.
will retrieve you and put you back, or a shaman of some kind. My friend David Christopher, shaman Christopher, he's a Toltec shaman.
Uh-huh.
He does that. He knows how to do that also, like to pull somebody back and put them back in their body.
Interesting.
The other thing is you may have to push something else out of your body to put you back in, because
True.
if it's empty, it's like, "Ooh."
There's a vessel there. Let's
Yeah.
go.
So that's why when you're doing it, you do protection first, you call in
Uh-huh.
your guardian, your guide, and then you go.
We're
But that
talking.
way you have you're set, and you're less likely
Right.
to get lost or anything like that, because your guide will bring you
Yeah.
right back in.
Now I have astral projected before, but it was in my sleep and I wasn't the one who started it. My guide was the one who started it. And
Yeah.
it was the whole dream was my guide was there and he was making the astral projection happen
Yeah.
and taking me through these memories that I had to relive to understand that there was a shift happening and that I was protected by him. And that
Okay.
was where our whole introduction really began. And this was back in
Mhm.
2018 when I first started waking up. And I was going through a really difficult time in my life and I felt really lost and scared and confused and many other very sad adjectives to go along with it. And
Yeah.
he was like, okay, let's go. I'm going to cheer you up. Come on. And I had a sequence of 4 dreams where I remember the dream and I was taken back in time to these specific places with this guide and he showed me various things. And that's my first experience of having that. But I haven't had it in a dream that I remember since that time, although I've been told that I won't remember most of them from this point forward.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
Well, it can interfere with your life
Yes.
now,
Hmm.
and that's always something that that you need to be aware of, is that it can interfere. And when you remember too much, too, there's a
Yes.
reason why we don't remember a lot of that stuff. And like they
Yes.
say, most people don't remember how they die. I could name at least 20 lifetimes how I died in every single one of them.
I
I
think
have
I'm becoming aware of how I died in one life.
way too much memory of that, because like that, the memory of me taking care of myself,
Hmm.
unaliving myself, that memory was so vivid, and they would not show me like why I did that. I had an idea as to why I did that, but they wouldn't give me the full story. And Spirit kept saying, "No, you do not
Yeah.
need the full story. All you
You
need to
don't
know
need
is
to
that
know.
these characters were in there, were part of it." And eventually, I did get the whole story, and it was horrific. And it really took me a while to process through it because it was so
Yeah.
traumatic.
Yeah.
Nobody needs extra trauma in their life.
No, we
Come
have
on.
enough. We have enough.
There's enough organically. We don't need to add any.
Yeah. Real.
Well, I think the animals are getting restless.
Yes. Mine is definitely, he's like, Mom, I want to leave the room. So I
Let
think we
me
should wrap this
out.
up.
Let me out.
Let
Yes.
me out. Yes.
All righty.
Well, this episode was a little bit more chaotic than the previous one, but I hope you enjoyed it either way.
Scarlet, where can we find your stuff? Where else are you? If I'm listening to this on the radio or see it somewhere that somebody shared it, where can I find you?
Well, this is obviously Spooky Pumpkin Productions. You can also find me under Natasha Zoe Dean. That is the main channel where this will be hosted on YouTube. I believe we're also going to be putting this on Spotify at some point. So this should be on many other platforms once Spotify does its magic. And we're going to be all over the place. So just give us a little Google search and see where you end up.
There you go. And please like and subscribe.
Yes, because it really does help us out very much.
And we
Helps
need
the
as
algorithm.
much help as we can get.
Yes, very much so.
I am Geralyn St. Joseph. Geralyn is spelled with a G. Saint is spelled S-T. I am everywhere. I have several websites, including Relationship Coach, gsj.com, and GeralynSt.Joseph.com. You'll find me on YouTube under my name also. Everywhere, if you just Google my name, which is so easy to spell, you'll find me all over the place. Find me on Amazon also with my books. If you have questions, if you have things that you want us to discuss, please either put them down below or email us in the comment section down below. Or you can also email us at
mmandscarlet@gmail.com. We'll put the email on the screen, and it will also be down below in the description box for you.
Yes, and is spelled out, correct?
Yes, correct. There's no ampersand.
Correct. It was fun. I will see you next week.
Yes, we will see you next week, and I hope you guys have a great weekend. Thank you for watching.
Have a magical day.
Bye.
Mahalo. Bye-bye.